This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on a Waterfall Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, if you just popped over from the Mark Thompson Show, thank you for being part of that as well. The discussion today with Belinda Weymouth about the environment, really good. Looking forward to having these science advisors that are going to help scientists protect science. That's something I didn't know. And so it's a positive thing we hold on to. Thank you also to John Rothman for coming on that show as well. Here on the After Party Live, we keep it politics free. Oh, and my dog just walked in. Hello. Hello, dog. There you go. Keep it politics free, and we keep it kind of sciencey, interesting, and fun. And I have some good stories for you today. Thank you for jumping into the chat. I see that Judy's feet are cold, and I'm hoping you get warmed up a little bit. Gordon says robots have safeguards so they won't injure humans. And yeah, they do. We saw that there are robots that are getting really good as far as movement. Yesterday, we showed a video of robots dancing, mimicking the movement of humans. And that's why I thought this was so interesting, because it seems like the thinking of robots, if you can call AI thinking, is on track. But the movement of robots is so non-human like. It's awkward, it's stilted, they may be able to lift things, they may be able to walk or move, but it's very kind of awkward and wobbly, and it's not quite right. Well, things are getting better. We saw it with the dancing video, and let's jump into it, because now we have this contest where you pit humans against robots in a foot race. And the whole point is really to make it so that there are advancements in robotic movement. And that's really what you have here with this new foot race, this robot human foot race. It's a humanoid versus human half marathon. 12,000 joggers expected to compete in this half marathon in Beijing later this year. And according to the press release from China's Beijing Economic Technological Development Area, there will be, again, 12,000 human runners and they say dozens of bipedal humanoid robots from more than 20 countries. So it'll be a 13-mile course, and the top 3 finishers, whether they're human or whether they're robots, will get prizes. Right now, there has not been a bipedal robot that has successfully completed that long of a race, especially against a human. But the robot joggers will have to look vaguely human. So this is part of the requirements for this particular race. They have to have 2 legs. They have to have a mechanical structure capable of carrying out bipedal functions like upright walking and running. And so that means you won't see the robot dogs like the one from Boston Dynamics that can move pretty fast. Not okay. It has to look human-like. So 2 legs, right? They will not allow wheels. So you can't throw wheels on the bottom of your robot. Can't do it. Has to walk. The humanoid structures need to be between 1.5 and 6.5 feet tall. They have to have maximum extension from their hip joint to the foot sole of at least 0.45 meters. And they don't need to be fully autonomous. They can be operated remotely. So that means Tesla could send its Optimus bot to the race. We'll see how it goes. I think it'll be interesting once the race is run. And again, I think it really is to spur the development of robotic movement, to make it better. The April race, they say, might not be all for show. The government-backed challenges and competitions have a history of fostering research innovations down the line. They did it with DARPA's 2007 Grand Challenge, where they had some of the world's top engineering minds face off head-to-head to create autonomous vehicles capable of driving through a desert. The results of this challenge, according to Popular Science, attracted the attention of the Google founders and planted the seeds for what would eventually become Waymo. So these types of challenges, of contests, really do kickstart innovation. And it'll be interesting to see how the robots move. And we'll be following that as that foot race happens later this year. I saw this next story in SF Gate. It's a beautiful picture of a coyote in wildflowers, and you can see the Golden Gate Bridge in the fog kind of peeking out there toward the left. The story is about what coyotes in San Francisco are eating. And you might think, oh, they're probably eating the gophers in Golden Gate Park, or maybe they're eating sea creatures that wash up on shore, or in some cases, we know they've gone after people's small pets. There was a study done, a UC Davis PhD student doing this study, published in the scientific journal Ecosphere this week. And she said she had a misconception of coyotes. And now she's got the data to show us what is exactly on the coyote menu in San Francisco. She did the study between September of 2019 and April of 2022. And she looked at coyote scat, more than 700 pieces of it across the city. And she said she was armed with Google Maps and a fanny pack. And she spent her mornings collecting evidence, scat evidence for her research. She went to golf courses, neighborhoods, cemeteries, all over the place. And then she looked through it. And she was pretty surprised at what she found out that coyotes in San Francisco are munching on. The highest overall contributor to coyote diets in San Francisco, human origin food. 78% of the samples collected identified human origin food. What does that mean? Well, it could mean people putting food out for coyotes, could mean they scavenge through dumpsters, this type of thing. Doesn't mean they're eating human, but it means that humans had the food and then coyotes got a hold of it. The data was most frequently traced back to coyotes dwelling in parts of the city with more man-made land cover, like asphalt and brick. Coit Tower, St. Francis Woods, Bernal Hill, all of these places have smaller ratios of green space to dense urban landscape. So the breakdown of human food consumed by coyotes included more than 500 detections of chicken, 250 detections of pig, 32 detections of cattle, and 15 detections of salmon and other fish. She doesn't know if does someone throw out a chicken McNugget out of a car window, or were there chicken scraps left in a trash can, or did someone leave a rotisserie chicken on a doorstep specifically for coyotes? She said there's no way to know for certain. But what she said is that the fact that coyotes are eating people food can exacerbate conflict and have other consequences, physiological consequences for these animals. The second most commonly eaten food group in San Francisco's coyotes, small mammals. They were found in 73.8% of the collected samples. And they included invasive species like black rats, Norway rats, house mice. And those, she thinks, were coyotes that were near restaurants, near Coit Tower, North Beach, Corona Heights, Castro, Haight, the Mission. She said it demonstrates the enormous power people have to manipulate their surroundings in ways that shape individual animals' foraging behaviors. On one hand, according to SF Gate, businesses and residences in the area could be more diligent about how they dispose of waste. On the other, they could look at the ecological service as a benefit. She said, if people don't want coyotes in certain areas, then we need to make sure that we don't have things that are attracting them there, because they are using them, and they are using them massively. The rest of the coyote breakdown included 23.6% birds, mostly pigeons and ducks, 22.8% raccoons and skunks, and less than 1% lizards and things like salamanders and bullfrogs. So, one of the interesting things she found is there was a trace of a sea lion and a fin whale that had washed up on Fort Funston in 2021. But she thought that was an interesting that one coyote seemed to have an affinity for skunks. So, yeah. So there you go. People food. We're feeding the coyotes. Whether we mean to do it or not, we are. Look at this kitty cat. This is Mittens. Mittens is apparently quite the traveler. Mittens was left on a plane and ended up taking 3 flights before reaching Mittens' final destination. Mittens is an 8-year-old cat. Looks like Mittens lost weight after 3 trips in 24 hours. She went to Melbourne before mistakenly being taken back to New Zealand. This after this family was trying to move from New Zealand to Australia and then realized their cat had been left on the plane and flown back home. So this Maine Coon cat had been booked on a one-way ticket from Christchurch in New Zealand to Melbourne, Australia, just a little while ago, 13th of January. When the family touched down in Melbourne, the cat was meant to be unloaded from the cargo hold, but they waited for 3 hours, this family, and there was no sign of Mittens. And then the ground staff for the airline said the plane returned to New Zealand and Mittens was still aboard. The return trip involves about 7.5 hours in the air. Not a great start, they said, to their new life in Melbourne because they didn't have the family complete. The Air New Zealand pilot was told about Mittens' presence midair, so they turned on the heating in the cargo hold to keep her comfortable. She was told a stowed wheelchair obscured a baggage handler's view of Mittens' cage, so Mittens got caught behind the wheelchair. When the plane landed back in New Zealand, Mittens was met by the company that the family employed to take care of the cat's transfer. They ensured she was put safely back on the plane to Melbourne to be returned and reunited with her family. They say Mittens lost a little weight but was otherwise unharmed, so Mittens was flying the friendly skies. When she finally landed back in Australia, the family says, the woman says that she ran into my arms and snuggled up and did the best cuddles of all times. They said it was such a relief to have her back. So yeah, Mittens had quite the adventure. It seems that men are getting bigger. That's a story. Men have grown twice as much as women in the last century when looking at height and weight. There are some pretty big changes in humanity. Tall, broad-shouldered men are becoming more and more common. Men around the world have gained height and weight as twice as fast as women over the last century, which means we have a greater divide between the sexes. There's a study done out of the University of Roehampton, and the professor involved, Lewis Halsey, says we're seeing insights into how sexual selection has shaped the male and female body and how improved environments in terms of food and a lower burden of disease have freed us from our shackles. Used data from the World Health Organization and UK records to see how height and weight have changed within living conditions. They measured the Human Development Index, which is a score based on life expectancy, time in education, and per capita income. The analysis of records from dozens of countries found that for every 0.2 or zero point 0.2 increase in HDI, which is again the Human Development Index, women were on average 1.7 centimeters taller and 2.7 kilograms heavier, while men were 4 centimeters taller and 6.5 kilograms heavier. So the research suggests that as living conditions improve, height and weight increase, but more than twice as fast in men than in women. To put it in perspective, about 1 in 4 women born in 1905 was taller than the average man born in 1905. It dropped to 1 in 8 women for those born in 1958. So, the stature and physique are prime indicators of health and vitality, while sexual selection also favors men who are better able to protect and defend their partners and offspring against others. So, are we breeding ourselves into this taller, bigger, more robust society? Perhaps. The findings, built on previous work, found women want taller men more than men want shorter women. But there are downsides to being tall as well. While taller people tend to earn more money, they are also more prone to various cancers, perhaps because they have more cells that can accumulate mutations, which then culminate in disease. It's interesting. The study also shows that investment in greater body size by males is more sensitive to nutritional conditions. While men grow up with more energy dense food, they grow bigger bodies to a greater extent than women. So it's about how we're feeding our people as well, I suppose. Oh, rats. Boy, this next story. I mean, I guess you can't blame the rats. There are drug addicted rats destroying evidence in Houston police lockers. It's serious business because these rats, I, I don't know if we'll call them crack rats. I'm not sure what to call them. I have a video for you, and it involves this news story. Let me take the picture of this strapping man down. But here it is, drug addicted rats. I don't know what to say, except here you go.
First look inside the HPD evidence room that's apparently infested with rats.
We learned about the problem at a bizarre news conference Friday. Leaders had scheduled at a location more than a mile away from the trouble spot.
This is difficult getting these rodents out of there. I mean, think about it. They're drug addicted rats. They're tough to deal with.
Well, they appeared to downplay the issue then, but today the Harris County DA's office notified attorneys in thousands of criminal cases that rats have been eating drug evidence.
ABC 13's Jessica Willey has the latest on the issue and what it means for those cases.
Yeah, today it was made clear that the rat issues are here at HPD's headquarters in downtown, not at a property room warehouse where HPD gave media tours on Friday after it took a long time to disclose the rat problem. Rats have been eating drugs, mostly marijuana, since October, they said. A review has found in one open case, rats ate psychedelic mushrooms.
No.
25 floors up at HPD's headquarters in downtown is where you'll find the narcotics evidence room, a series of vaults filled to the ceiling with seized drugs. One vault now compromised by rats.
We got 400,000 pounds of marijuana in storage that the rats are the only ones enjoying it.
Prompting a major review at the Harris County District Attorney's Office in the first weeks of a new administration.
I really don't think that this is going to compromise any convictions, but it is important for the defendants to know about.
Monday, the DA's office sent out notices to defense attorneys on 3,600 open cases, including some capital murder cases involving drug evidence held in the vault where rats have been found. Among those, the DA's office says rats have compromised evidence in only one open case involving 2 defendants. Their attorneys got this notice, quote, certain narcotics evidence associated with your case has been affected.
It was a very large drug case involving cocaine, marijuana, PCP, and the rodents got into one envelope of psychedelic mushrooms. So that packaging was eaten into and harmed, and they got some of the mushrooms out. It was identified, the package was sealed back up and reweighed and put back into evidence.
General Counsel Josh Reese says as HPD continues to try to get rid of the rats, a problem other departments have faced.
Rodents, bugs, fungus, all kinds of things love drugs.
Officials are working on ways to dispose of drug evidence in old cases that's no longer needed. The office obligated to disclose the rat problem, Reese says, but stand behind the cases.
This is an issue dealing with the integrity of the packaging, not the integrity of the convictions or the cases themselves.
Jessica Willey, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
And our thanks to ABC 13. Who knew that rats love drugs so much? I guess it makes sense, but wow. Okay, going to the chat. Looking at your comments. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know. It's gross. Yeah. Looking at your comments. We're talking a lot about the dogs and cats. Poor Mittens. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it though. When you're looking at rats in evidence lockers, you would think it wouldn't be so hard to get rid of them, but apparently it is. Can we talk for a moment about oxygen, and where it is not supposed to be is exactly where it has been found. And now the hunt is on for something called dark oxygen and more answers. This discovery was made public in July. Metallic rocks apparently producing oxygen on the Pacific Ocean seabed. This is an area where no light can penetrate, and it was called a scientific bombshell, according to this CNN article. The initial research suggested potato-sized nodules rich in metals, predominantly found about 13,000 feet below the surface of the ocean in the Clarion-Clipperton zone, released an electrical charge, splitting seawater into oxygen and hydrogen through electrolysis. It's a natural phenomenon, and it challenges this idea that oxygen can only be made from sunlight via photosynthesis. There's a professor for the UK's Scottish Association for Marine Science who is behind the find and is now starting this 3-year-long project investigating the production of what's being called dark oxygen. They're using these custom-made rigs equipped with sensors that can be deployed 36,000 feet down. It's a new research project trying to look into this dark oxygen. This region, the Clarion-Clipperton zone, is being explored for the deep sea mining of rare metals contained in these rock nodules. They think they're more than millions of years old, and these metals play a key role in new and green technologies. One of the researchers says our discovery of dark oxygen was a paradigm shift in our understanding of the deep sea and potentially of life on Earth. But it also gave us more questions than answers. This new research will enable us to probe some of these scientific questions. So, one of the things they want to know is whether dark oxygen production is replicated in other areas in this zone where nodules can be found, and they would like to know exactly how this oxygen is being produced. And if they can figure this out, they think they could better understand perhaps life beyond Earth. So, we know that oxygen is hard to produce without continuous energy coming from sunlight. But there have been scientists that have encountered unexpected oxygen molecules in remote, light-deprived places. So it's possible that dark oxygen production could be more widespread and than we think, that maybe it's been overlooked. Very interesting. The process, they don't exactly know. They say after 40,000, maybe 30,000 years separated from service processes, there's no reason to think that there should be any oxygen left, because oxygen, say the researchers, is such a yummy electron acceptor. It's either usually chemically oxidizes or microbially oxidizes. So what is it doing there? At first, they thought atmospheric oxygen maybe contaminated the samples. They were drawn from 14 groundwater aquifers. But they say, given the age of the samples, any oxygen would have reacted with other substances long ago and just disappeared. Through a series of chemical reactions, microbes were able to break down soluble compounds called nitrites, molecules made of one nitrogen and two oxygen atoms, to produce molecular oxygen in a process known as dismutation. They say the microbes also had the ability to use the oxygen to consume methane in the water for energy. And scientists say, listen, nature keeps surprising us. There are so many things people have said, this is impossible. And later it turns out, yep, not impossible. Not impossible at all. So one of the things they're doing, and I have another picture here, is you can see them kind of in the deep dark trying to hunt for more of these microbes. They are about 9,500 feet deep in a mine in South Africa. They're looking at brines isolated in the rock for 1.2 billion years that are teeming with life as they investigate how oxygen is produced in what they call an ancient ecosystem. Oxygen where it's not supposed to be. We think we know a lot, and it turns out we don't really know that much at all, do we? Time for the lotto of the day. And this one involves a so-called copycat customer. This happened in South Carolina. This woman copied another customer's purchase at a convenience store. She says she was waiting in line at Parker's in Summerville, South Carolina, when the customer in front of her bought a $200,000 Gold Rush scratch-off ticket. And she thought, sounds good to me. So she told the clerk to give her $25 worth of the same $5 ticket as the other customer. And then she went home to watch a football game. And as she scratched off the tickets at halftime, she decided maybe this is more important than the football game because she uncovered $200,000 in prize money on that last ticket. And she thought, of course, as all lottery winners think, this can't be real. She said, I didn't watch the rest of the game because I kept going into the kitchen to look at the ticket. She's going to save her $200,000 for retirement. Probably a smart move. She said, I hope the gentleman in line in front of me won something good on his ticket too. Probably not $200,000. Nope. This creature prompted a police call. Someone said, listen, there's a dead iguana on the side of the road, on the side of the highway. So police in British Columbia respond to this report of a 4-foot long, what the caller said was a live iguana on the shoulder of a busy highway. When they got there, they found out, yeah, it was a stuffed toy. The caller reported seeing a large live iguana on the shoulder of Lougheed Highway near Shook Street in British Columbia. Police thought, no, that can't be true. But, they went out, took a look anyway. Officers say they have extensive training to deal with a variety of situations, but iguana wrangling is not one of them. Fortunately, the officers that were dispatched on this call had all kinds of tools. They had a dog catching pole, they had a crate, they had the stamina to get the job done, but when they approached the iguana, they were able to confirm it was not anatomically correct. It was, in fact, a stuffed iguana designed to look, though, very realistic. They'll give it that. They shared an image of the toy on social media, reminding social media users to keep in mind that drivers saw it while they were traveling at highway speeds. They say the Royal Canadian Mounted Police says, contact police if you're missing your stuffed lizard. We've got it for you. There is a new drug for depression, and it's a nasal spray. This is the first of its kind as far as the method of dispersal. And the FDA just approved it. It's called Spravato. Spravato. It's the first monotherapy nasal spray being used to treat depression. The FDA just approving it. It's the first ever standalone nasal spray to treat drug-resistant depression. It's a product from Johnson & Johnson, and it's for major depressive disorder in adults who have had inadequate response to at least 2 oral antidepressants. They say that major depressive disorder is one of the most common psychiatric disorders, with about 21 million adults in the United States living with it. So, Spravato had been cleared in the United States in 2019 to be used together with oral antidepressants. But now it looks like that you can just take this alone. It's a standalone treatment, meaning patients may experience improvements in depressive symptoms as early as 24 hours and at 28 days without the need for daily oral antidepressants. So that's Spravato. I wanted to just quickly mention that had been approved as a standalone treatment for people that are suffering. NASA says Finland is in on the Artemis Accords. They have signed on, so that's good. It becomes Finland the 53rd nation to join NASA's Artemis Accords. The Artemis Accords are all about global support for responsible manned exploration of the moon. They had the signing at the Winter Satellite Workshop in Espoo, Finland. They say Finland has participated and has had a long interest in space exploration, and they look forward to taking part in the next chapter of discovery. And the signing of the Artemis Accord is very much in line with Finland's newly updated space strategy, highlighting the importance of international cooperation and strengthening partnerships with the United States and other allies. They say we aim for this cooperation to open great opportunities for the Finnish space sector in a new area of space exploration in the Artemis program. So this whole thing sets up the principles for responsible exploration in anticipation for man's return to the moon in what is supposed to be a benefit to humanity. So, 53 countries so far have signed on. Speaking of space, these are some wheels right here. Check those out. Kind of see-through, but also kind of flexible as well. These are titanium wheels that will be on the next Mars rover, future Mars rovers. This alloy would be an upgrade to the current aluminum tires. And it looks like NASA's Perseverance rover has some very thick aluminum tires covered in cleats in an effort to increase traction and mobility. But NASA researchers are reportedly busy designing the next generation of tires for future rover expeditions across Mars. And one design puts the emphasis on flexibility over rigidity. And that's what this does. According to NASA, recently finished testing of a prototype rover features the latest on shape memory alloy, spring tire technology. It's a novel alloy that relies on a specifically manufactured nickel titanium blend capable of returning to its original shape after bending, stretching, or experiencing extreme temperature shifts. While standard tires are often solid, completely solid, these more resemble a wheel-shaped, tightly interlocking mesh framework that can be flexible and bend over bumps and rocks and then pop back into its original shape. So they went with the team, brought the motion tracking system, did some tests uphill and downhill, did a lot of tests over rocks and sand, and according to NASA, this tire shape shifted in response to the rocky ground. Its deformations were minimal and it met all expectations. So, they're looking at maybe applying these materials for habitat protection as well. They think that outfitting the rovers, not only ones meant for Mars, but to the moon as well, it's possible that this new alloy could find its way into other projects, astronaut habitats, lunar-based structures, all kinds of things, because it has potential to withstand and absorb micrometeorite strikes that do often occur on the moon. So how's that for a little bit of innovation and technology? Speaking of weird things coming from space, oh, it's a mysterious green light. What in the world is it? It was seen over Ontario, a mysterious green light captured in the night sky. Experts think it was most likely a meteor. This image you're seeing here was caught from somebody's doorbell cam. This green light that appeared to fall out of the sky Tuesday night. The International Meteor Organization logged numerous reports of a fireball sighting at the same time in Ontario, Quebec, and New York. According to the backyard astronomer, Gary Boyle, the object could have been a meteor or even space junk, but most likely a small piece of the leftover meteor that created the solar system. So there you go. The green light falling. Very cool. It is Waterfall Wednesday, and I got the most lovely email from Tammy. So I wanted to read it to you as we watch a little bit of video that she sent in on a waterfall that means something to her background and to her family. Unfortunately, I do have to turn off the sound on this video because there's music in the background, but here it is. Let's see, I can present it to you. This is Issaquena Falls, and it is drone footage of the falls. Let me take our Waterfall Wednesday slide down. And I'll read you her email as we watched the video of Issaquena Falls, because it's really quite beautiful and peaceful. So here is what Tammy had to say. She said, Kim, this waterfall is located where my parents and most ancestors since around the time of the Revolution hail from. Some fought during the war here and moved south to join those hardy souls that were basically living in the Wild West of the times. This is the last area of South Carolina ceded to the Union from the Cherokee after the Revolution. Of course, those that were here before any Europeans, this was the center of their world. She says, my great-grandmother, Emma Green, was half Cherokee. As an old woman, not long before she died, she asked her youngest grandchild and his new bride, my father and mother, to take her on a driving journey in the South Carolina upstate, North Georgia, North Carolina, into Tennessee, mostly to see waterfalls. You can drive easily through those 4 states in one day as they merge in the center of old Cherokee territory. She said, every summer, we would go up to South Carolina to visit family. As children, we didn't understand the wild areas with waterfalls and rope bridges to cross the significance of the history and the Cherokee legends. She goes on to say, she's learned that these places on her father's wild tours were special, often sacred places with Cherokee names and legends associated with them. She also says parts of Deliverance were filmed in this region as well. She said, in this region, my mother always packed at least a day's worth of sandwiches, drinks, and snacks. In one case, she said her dad packed a 44 with a clip of hollow points as well, because you never knew what you were going to encounter. So she also says there are a bunch of really cool, really interesting waterfalls in this area. And she talks about legends associated with the Jockasee area, meaning the place of the lost ones. I just want to tell you, Tammy, I loved your email. I loved learning about your family history and watched this waterfall video for a while, and it really kind of calmed me down. So I just feel like especially when you hear it with the sound, the rushing water, and the relaxing music in the background. I'm going to post it in case anybody wants to play the music privately with the videos so that you can see what I'm talking about, especially if maybe you need a little kind of cool down, calm down situation. But there you go. And that is the falls there in that area, the Issaquena Falls, but also in the area of Jockasee Lake and the Jockasee area. I have some other pictures for you as well, because one of them includes the Whitewater Falls, and I have a couple pictures of that. Isn't that pretty? Whitewater Falls, known as the highest waterfall east of the Rockies, is a sight to behold. It's a cascading waterfall that plunges more than 400 feet and creates a mesmerizing view that allows you to really soak in the beauty. So Whitewater Falls in this Jockasee area, check it out. So beautiful. Really pretty. And then there's Laurel Fork Falls. Really pretty picture there. Laurel Fork Falls is accessible by boat or a really challenging hike. It offers a secluded spot to enjoy nature's splendor, the water tumbling down a rocky cliff into Lake Jockasee with a serene backdrop for a picnic or for quiet reflection. There's another picture of it. Laurel Fork Falls. It was beautiful. Cascading over these rocks that look like steps. Very, very pretty. Thank you so much, Tammy, for the message and for turning me on to the Jockasee area, which I hadn't heard of before. But boy, this is such a beautiful place. I really appreciate it. She also she sent me another video. Maybe we can play it as well. But this one is scouting waterfalls in this Lake Jockasee area as well. And I want to play this for you because it showcases at the beginning Lake Jockasee, which is really, really pretty. So here's what this looks like. Take down this beautiful waterfall picture and make this bigger. And check this out as well. This is Lake Jockasee in this region of South Carolina. And this is drone footage of going for waterfall scouting off of Lake Jockasee. There are apparently at least 8 waterfalls that you can drive through in one day. So super, super pretty area. Tammy says there's a lot of bootleggers around this area. Lake Jockasee, she writes, has 8 waterfalls that flow into it, coming from 4 tributaries. This was Jockasee Valley with running rivers and creeks. She said, even in my early youth, it's a huge man-made lake now, the dam, part of an energy program controlled by Duke Energy. The Cherokee village of Eastatoe was here and mostly underwater. She said, my paternal grandparents lived here prior to the dam construction. So, beautiful. And here's another waterfall off of Lake Jockasee. 8 of them you'll be able to find. What a beautiful area. Green and lush. I found some pictures as well when the colors change and all of these trees are orange and golden and the waterfalls are flowing. And what a pretty area. That's Jockasee. And again, thank you to Tammy for finding the videos and for sending them over. You can always email cool stuff like this to me. Find me at kim@theafterparty.live. Again, that is kim@theafterparty.live. Send me a message about trivia categories for tomorrow, waterfalls for next Wednesday, places you'd like to virtually travel together for Travel Tuesday, or caves you'd like to hide in for Monday. And we'll check it out, kim@theafterparty.live. And again, thank you so much to Tammy for sending that in. Those waterfalls are super beautiful. And that, my friends, is the After Party Live. I know I'm ending just a little bit early. I'll tell you, it's always challenging when Mark takes time off because I feel like I'm setting up both shows by myself. So it's been a lot of extra work. So I'm sorry if I came up a little bit short today, but thank you for your patience with me. I appreciate that. And thank you for being here as well and taking your time to spend with me this afternoon. It really means a lot that you would do that and that you would be here like that. Rhonda says, I love the background personal history around these falls. I really do too. Teacher Lori says, Tammy, I loved hearing your family history. I did as well. Yeah, 8 8 waterfalls off of this lake. So super pretty. Luis says with a $5 contribution, and thank you, Luis. An unscientific study has determined that daily viewing of the after party live reduces stress, decreases high blood pressure, and expands your social network. All of the above I find to be true. I verify that I too have found these results in my unscientific study. Thank you, Luis, for the $5 and always for the best comments. Really appreciate it. All right. It is time to end the show, but I do want to tell you that tomorrow it'll be Mark Thompson back on the Mark Thompson Show. Of course, former federal prosecutor David Katz will be on the show, and then we'll do the after party live with trivia Thursday, and then it is cocktails, mocktails, and politics with Nikki Maduro at 5 p.m. here on YouTube. So please mark it down. I would love for you to join me with Nikki. We have the best time together and the best conversations, so please join in for that as well. All of that going on tomorrow here on YouTube. But until we meet again, I hope you make it the very best day, and I will see you very soon. And again, thank you for spending your time. Until we meet again, bye-bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
See, if Heather says it's true, it really is. Thank you, Liz. Please click like and subscribe.